Interesting. There you go, and then join.
But you can be
okay.
here, doesn't matter.
It's okay. I'll see what this is all about. I wonder, Zoom must be like a new thing with connectivity. Okay, so it's about time to get started. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Kind of the way we've been doing our calls all day is if you guys could put your phones on mute, and I'll go ahead and try and get us through the presentation. And then at the end of it, if you guys have questions or concerns, we'll kind of go through them all at once at the end. Okay? Oh, okay. Sounds good. So go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So thank you all for joining. I wanted to make sure we tried to do as many of these Zoom meetings as possible, and I might add a couple more throughout the week depending on the need. But we have quite a few changes with our insurance this year, offering things that you guys have never been offered before, and things like that. So I wanted to make sure we had a chance to really go over what those changes mean and what possibly give you information so that you could pick the best possible plan for you. Keep in mind, open enrollment will be today through Friday, November 10th. If you do not complete open enrollment, you will not have insurance for 2018. So I cannot stress enough to make sure you get this done, because even if you come to me December 1st and you just say you totally forgot, there's nothing I will be able to do for you. You will not have insurance for all of next year. Keep in mind, 2017 plans will not just carry over automatically into 2018. I've had quite a few people come to me and they said, oh, I don't need to do anything because I'm just going to keep everything the same. Well, no, you do need to do something. You're going to need to log into Workday and re-enroll and submit that enrollment, because if you don't, once again, you won't have insurance next year. So I'm just trying to really stress that to everybody. Cool. So what's changing for 2018? You guys are going to be offered for the first time a set of HMO plans, which we're going to go over what those plans are, what they mean, all of that good stuff. Our dental and our vision carriers are changing to MetLife, and no more wellness rates. I know a lot of you have not liked the wellness rates in the past, so no more counting points, no more, any of that. We have one rate kind of that goes along with the PPO rates and the HMO rates. So those are our biggest changes. We still are going to have wellness plan, and you've probably seen it in the benefit handbook, and we're kind of gearing our wellness plan more towards just giving you guys a lot of options to help you guys be more healthy, whether it be a gym membership, whether it be, discount on Weight Watchers, stuff like that. So we're going to have options, but you guys aren't going to be penalized or anything like that. Okay? Cool. So basically an overview of our medical plans being offered. We're going to be offering 4 HMO plans. You'll see a breakdown like that, and then the normal PPO plans that you guys are already familiar with. So we have a $5,000 deductible, a $1,500 deductible, and then the HSA $3,000 deductible. So what's the difference between HMO and PPO? You guys have really never had HMO, and then here, like at PAL, we've never really done PPO. So I wanted to make sure for each of us, we kind of really went over the differences. That way you guys can make an educated decision. But a main difference is a deductible. HMO plans, you are not going to have a deductible. Coverage will start immediately, and you just pay your copay when you go to the doctor. So like $20 or $40, depending on which plan you choose. However, with the PPO plan, you will have to pay a deductible out of pocket before your insurance will start to kick in. So this means if you choose that cheapest PPO plan, which is a $5,000 deductible, and you go to have an MRI done, you're going to be paying out of pocket for that MRI until you've reached that $5,000 deductible. Once you pay for the $5,000 out of pocket, then your insurance starts kicking in. Another big difference between HMO and PPO is coverage. HMO, you generally only pay your copay, and everything else is going to be covered by the carrier. Whereas PPO plans, once you have paid your deductible out of pocket, depending on which plan you pick, you will owe 30% or 20% of the bill after your copay. And you guys are pretty familiar with the PPO plans, so I know none of that's like new for you guys. And then overall cost, HMO plans are going to be a little bit cheaper for the most part. And then in some cases, the PPO plans will be cheaper, but most likely you're selecting a very high deductible. So pros and cons to HMOs and PPOs. So HMO plans, your pro is it's a little bit cheaper throughout the year, and it's generally always covered in full whenever you're having services done and so forth. However, the cons to the HMO is you have to stay within that doctor network. So we offer two different HMOs. We offer a trio, and then we offer a full net network. And so that means if you choose the trio, which is our cheapest HMO plan, you have to choose doctors, urgent cares, and hospitals that are covered under that trio plan. Same thing that goes with the full net. Another con to an HMO typically is you have to wait for the insurance company to authorize specialty services. So that means where if you go to your primary care doctor, you're having pain in your back, and they want to do an MRI, they're going to have to send a referral to your insurance company to get authorized. And once you get approval, then you could go have that MRI done at the facility. So there's a little bit of lapse. I can say in like the 11 years I've worked at Palomos, I've always had HMO, and it's the most you'll experience with a waiting of that is usually 1 to 3 days. I mean, we're not talking a huge waiting period. So some pros and cons to PPO plans.
And even when you're at the hospital, like say you really need an MRI done right then and there, they can't do it until?
Hospitals are different. Yeah, when you're in the hospital, you have it done immediately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, that was it.
So are there HMO plans available for the Santa Barbara group as well?
I was able to look up, and there was I looked up Santa Maria. I haven't looked up Santa Barbara alone, but Santa Maria had quite a few that I looked up for those girls. But I could definitely try and run it for Santa Barbara as well for you guys over there. Okay. So the PPO plan, okay. And sorry guys, some of you might have hopped on late in the call, but if we could mute your guys' phones for the presentation, and then at the end we'll open it up for all the questions. And just because the presentation is a little long, so I'm just afraid if we keep going back and forth, we might not be able to get through it all for everybody else. So the pros and cons to the PPOs is the pros is it's a little cheaper for some of those higher deductibles, so it kind of makes it sometimes a little easier to afford. You have the ability to visit most doctors, urgent cares, and hospitals. You do not usually have that waiting period for authorization of specialty services. The cons, however, is you have to pay that high deductible out of pocket before insurance starts to kick in. And then even once that deductible is met, you're still going to be paying your copay and the 20 to 30% of the bill, depending on what services you're having done. So even once you've met that deductible and then you go for your MRI, maybe, you're still going to be paying 20 or 30% depending on which plan you choose. So the rates for our HMO plans you'll see below. Trio is the cheapest HMO plan, but once again, that's because it has it's a much more narrow network. The Trio plan did partner with CCPL and Physician's Choice for this coming year. So there is, at least a pretty good selection to choose from. And then you'll see the full net is kind of like a buy-up HMO. So you'll see it's still a little bit, it's not, it's not very cheap, but it's not crazy expensive. But it's kind of your way of having a PPO without having a deductible, because there's so many more doctors to choose from on the full net. However, you're not going to have that deductible and so forth. So it's kind of like your in-between type of thing. Our HMO coverage categories are separated, similar to how you guys have always had your PPOs. So we have the employee only, employee plus spouse, employee plus children, employee plus family. If you look at the medical plan comparison, you're going to notice right up here at the top, it says Trio Full Net 40/40. So a lot of people ask, why are those lumped together? Why is Trio Full Net together? I thought they cost different rates. Trio and Full Net are the same exact coverage, The only reason why FullNet costs more is because you have a much broader range of doctors, urgent cares, and hospitals to choose from. So whether you choose the Trio $40 copay or the FullNet $40 copay, all of this right here is going to be the same. It's just like I said, if you're on that FullNet, you're going to have a lot more doctors to choose from. So you'll notice at the top, no deductibles. Like I said, HMOs, we don't have deductibles. You're covered from the get-go. There's no out-of-pocket or, right from the beginning out-of-pocket type of thing. Where you see the calendar out-of-pocket maximum, which I know you guys are familiar with because we even have that with PPO, but you'll see for individuals, $3,500, for family, it's $7,000. So what that means is if we hop down, see hospital admission, it's $100 copay to be admitted plus 40% of the bill. So the best way I could put the out-of-pocket maximum is when I had my daughter about 5 years ago, I got the bill, it was about $40,000. I would have, if I had the Trio 40 at that point or the FullNet 40, I would have either had to pay 40% of that bill and or the individual out-of-pocket maximum, which was $3,500. So in that situation, I would have paid $3,500 instead of 40% of a $40,000 bill. Okay. So anytime on these HMO plans, when you see a percentage, you're either paying that percentage of the bill or your out-of-pocket maximum, whichever is cheapest. Okay. And I want to point out one more thing just about the HMOs for those of you that don't kind of realize this, but the Trio FullNet $20 copay, you'll see the out-of-pocket maximum is $2,000, and then for the 40/40, it's $3,500. If we go back to these rates, you'll see a Trio for the $20 copay is $5.22 a pay period for employee only, and for the $40 copay, it's free. So $5.22 times 26 pay periods means you're going to be paying right around $135 a year extra just to be on that $20 copay. So not only, though, by paying that $135, are you going to save $20 each time you go to the doctor by the copay savings, but you're also, if ever you have to go to the hospital or say you have to have an unplanned surgery, right there alone, that $135 a year saves you $1,500 in your out-of-pocket maximum. So I know a lot of times some people just see free and they're kind of like, oh, I just want the free one. I don't want to pay anything. But just keep in mind, it ends up being $135 a year. And depending on how much you go to the doctor and or if there's any chance you could have to have something done, it pays for itself right there by the out-of-pocket maximum. Okay. Copays, like I said, it depends on which plan you choose. If you plan the 40, it's a $40 copay. If you pick the 20, it's a $20 copay. If we go down to prescriptions right here, you'll see for both plans, generic is $15, brand is $30, non-formulary is $45. In the benefit handbook that you guys receive, if you go to the prescription page that's in the HMO section, there's actually a link you could click on, and you can even look up your prescription drugs to see where it falls on those categories. And then we also offer the mail order service for a 90-day supply of, and that could be useful for if you have a prescription that you have to take every month and it never changes. So like blood pressure, for example, that would be a good one that you could do mail service, never have to go to the pharmacy, you get a 3-month supply all at once type of thing. Okay. Frequently asked questions that we get regarding HMO plans. Like I said, what's the difference between Trio and FullNet? I can't stress enough they have the same exact coverage. So what I always recommend to people is on those instructions you got on the benefit email, how to look up an HMO provider. Always first look up and see if the Trio network covers your doctor. Because if your doctor is on the Trio network, there's no reason why you should ever pay extra money for FullNet. Because like I said, whether you pay that $60 for FullNet or you pay $5 for Trio, you're going to have the same coverage. So it really just comes down to doctors. So make sure you're really checking that website to see if your doctor is under the Trio. Because if they are, then it's worth it to just get the Trio. And then a lot of people say, what does paid in full mean? That means that the insurance pays it 100%. That like wellness exams, routine physicals. If you have a baby on your plan, not just a baby, but a child, they have their annual wellness visits, like every birthday they go in for their 5-year-old shots or their whatever. Those are covered in full, no copays needed. That's what the paid in full one mean on that last slide that we went over. Now, rates for PPO plans. So like I said, there was a little interesting this year when we got together to create the Sonic PPO plans. We did away with the wellness plan, like I said, with the non-wellness versus wellness, and then we did away with the spousal surcharge. So what we had to do is take what we took off, and we had to kind of blend rates and figure out where we could save money in other places and so forth, and it was hard. So rates did go up just a little bit, nothing too outrageous, but they have gone up just a little bit on each category. The HSA, we tried our best. We found a lot of you are very interested in HSA, so we did our best to see where are the most people in, and that's where we were able to kind of cut costs just a little bit. So those decreased a little bit, but the other PPOs went up just a little bit. Okay. And I'm not going to go into too much of a nitty-gritty in these plans because, like I said, you guys have always had these PPO plans, so you're very familiar with them. But just kind of from a high level of what you need to know in case you are new to this call or you're not familiar with them. You'll see at the top our PPO plan 1, that's your $5,000 deductible. Your PPO plan 2, that's your $1,500 deductible, and then your HSA plan 3 is your $3,000 deductible. Now that deductible is an individual deductible. That does not mean if you have your husband on your plan or your wife on your plan that you're only going to pay $5,000. So for in those examples, if I was married and I had a husband on my plan, our deductible would be $10,000. If I had a husband and my daughter on the plan, we would cap out at that family deductible, which is in-network maximum of $12,700. Okay. Now, and you'll see those on the different plans. So the out-of-pocket maximum, same explanation that I gave you with, the hospital bill, and you're going to pay either like down here, you guys, if you chose the cheapest PPO plan, which is the $5,000 deductible, you would pay that $250 copay, and then 30% of that hospital bill, or your out-of-pocket maximum, whichever is cheaper in that situation. Okay. Co-insurance, that's how much the insurance is going to pay, whether you're in network, and then you'll see the percentage they'll pay if you're out of network. Office copays, I really like to make sure everybody really understands this. So PPO plan 1 and plan 2, so $5,000 and $1,500 deductible. Your office visits are either going to be 30, 60, or for preventative care, 0. So wellness, exams, that kind of thing. However, if you choose that HSA plan, even January 2nd, you go to the doctor, you're going to pay 100% of that doctor visit until your deductible is met. Even after your deductible is met, you're then going to pay 30% of that office visit as your copay, unless it's a preventative care appointment. So I can't say how many times at CCPL we've had happen where, the HSA looks great and it sounds great, and then they met their deductible, and then they might go to, like, say, a dermatology appointment, and it ends up being, that's kind of like a specialty, ends up being like $500, and they have to pay 30% of that $500. So keep that in mind. Even after you've met that deductible, you're going to pay 30% of even just an office visit, unless it's a preventative care one. So lab, x-rays, hospital, outpatient, all of that, you either have your copay, like urgent care is $50, or once again, if you're the HSA, you're going to have 30% after your deductible. Okay. Now for the PPO plans, keep in mind PPO plans through Sonic are with Blue Cross Blue Shield, whereas our HMO plans are through Blue Shield of California. So the pharmacy is going to be a little bit different. So make sure if you choose a PPO plan, you look at the pharmacy page on the PPO section, and they detailed those pharmacy rates out by tiers. It's a little bit different. They have 4 tiers, and you can see it ranges anywhere from $10 to $200. So it could go anywhere from super cheap to nothing. Make sure if you sign up for a PPO plan, you really look at that benefit handbook, because we've added a couple extra preventative prescriptions that we are going to cover 100% for you, the employee, if you're enrolled in PPO. So like one, for example, we added was diabetes medicine. I believe another one was blood pressure medicine. Birth control is one of them. So there's a couple of extra preventatives that weren't on there last year that we will pay for free for you guys for 2018. But same thing, there's on that prescription page in the PPO section, you could go to that link. You can even research which one of your prescriptions fall under which tier. Okay. So frequently asked questions we get regarding PPOs a lot is, what does 5,000, 1,500, 3,000 mean whenever you look at the handbook? Those are deductibles. So once again, that's the amount that you're going to pay out of pocket come January 1st before the insurance will start to kick in. Once again, this amount, it goes up if you have dependents. So we skip a couple bullet points. That means, once again, if you choose that 5,000 plan, it's 5,000 per person and caps out at 12,700. Regular office visits, unless you're HSA plan, you'll just pay your copay. And then it's for specialty services or that where you're going to be paying out of pocket to meet that deductible. So an HSA, what does it stand for? It stands for Health Savings Account. This allows you to put pre-tax dollars aside to help pay for medical, dental, vision. You can only enroll in that HSA if you choose the PPO HSA $3,000 copay, deductible. And we'll go into that a lot more detail in the next slide. Another question we get a lot is, what does it mean on co-insurance on the plan details page that we just looked at? Co-insurance just means what the insurance will actually pay for you whenever it's in network or out of network. So once again, like the cheaper 5,000 deductible plan, the insurance will only cover 70% in network, whereas the more expensive $1,500 plan, they're going to pay 80% after deductibles met. Okay. So dental, there was a little bit of a slip up in the handbook that I sent to you guys. You guys are keeping MetLife. I know you'll see on that number, page 4, I believe, the rate page, it says Guardian rates. PAL and LA have Guardian. However, I couldn't put you guys on Guardian because there was no HMO dentist in all of San Luis, or in that general area, actually. So we had to keep you on MetLife. So please just refer to the actual MetLife page that is in the CCPL handbook or benefit booklet. I believe it's like page 37. So this just gives you a kind of a brief overview. Like I said, we're switching to MetLife for 2018. Coverage is very similar to what it was before. The cheaper PPO plan, Plan 1, is going to not cover orthodontics, whereas the more expensive Plan 2 will cover it up to $1,500. And then you'll see the different coverage rates for basic and major dental services. Okay. And there's no deductible. We're waiving the deductibles for those, or I'm sorry, preventative diagnosis, you don't have to pay. Those are free. It doesn't count towards your deductible. You'll see the rates below. These are biweekly rates once again. So this is what would come out of your check every other week. And it's very similar to what we had last year with Cigna, just a new carrier this year. Okay. Vision, once again, we switched to MetLife. Many people ask, why are we switching to MetLife? What's all this carrier change about? MetLife is who we have our short-term disability, our long-term disability, life insurance with. So it just made sense to try and have them for as much as possible. That way we could just kind of lump all of our benefits into one. And also they were able to offer us a little bit cheaper rates, especially with vision. So you'll notice on the vision, rates are a little bit cheaper. However, the coverage stayed almost identical. If anything, we gained 10 extra dollars in like the frame allowance and the contact allowance. One thing I've been pointing out throughout the meetings is a lot of people just sign up for vision without really understanding what vision insurance is for. So you should only be enrolling in vision insurance if you are going to be getting like lenses or frames or contacts or anything of that nature. If you're just signing up for it in case you want to go have an eye exam, your medical insurance, whether it's HMO or PPO, comes with a free eye exam every year. So that means if you call your eye doctor and you want to schedule an exam, they're not even going to ask vision insurance. They're going to say, who's your medical insurance? Because that's who they're going to bill for that appointment. The time where vision insurance will come into play is when you try to get those frames or contacts. Even if, like, say you got a vision or an eye issue, like a cataract happens, you're not even going to use that vision insurance. It's all going to go through your medical. So just keep that in mind. I've had people over the years, once they figure that out, they realize they've been paying for no reason. So just like to point that out in case some of you might not know. So the big confusion, where a lot of confusion comes in, is HSA compared to FSA, what it means, what you can sign up for, what you can't. So HSA, like I said, that's health spending account. You're only allowed to participate in the HSA spending account if you are enrolled in the PPO 3000 HSA deductible. The nice thing about the HSA is it will roll over from year to year. You is never use it or lose it. So even if you put in, say, $4,000 for the year and you don't use a dime of it, well, that full $4,000 is going to roll over to the next year for you. And even if you leave Sonic, say you leave Sonic in 2 years, and that money will still be yours in 10 years if you haven't used it yet. So it's not tied to Sonic, it's not tied to a year to year, it's yours to keep. The other great thing about the HSA is Sonic will contribute $500 for the individual and $1,000 for the family if you have multiple people on your plan. Now that is $1,000 total, so that's not $1,000 plus $500. It would be $1,000 total that would go into your HSA account. Okay, so once again, that HSA, you can only participate in that if you sign up for the HSA PPO $3,000 deductible. We then have what's called a flex spending account that's available. There's 3 different types of FSA that we offer. The first one is dependent care. The second one is health care FSA, and the third one is limited care. So dependent care is something a lot of people use if they have dependents under them that they are using to care for, or where they're spending money to care for them. So for example, it could be a child in daycare. It could be a special needs child that's maybe in their mid-30s. However, they still require some care by a facility or maybe a home nurse or so forth. And it may even be an elderly parent or grandparent that you're having to care for that is basically now your dependent that you are responsible for. So it could be multiple factors that could qualify you for that dependent care. The healthcare FSA, that is meant for people that are not enrolled in the HSA. So if you're enrolled in the HSA, you're not allowed to enroll in the healthcare FSA. And if you're enrolled in the healthcare FSA, you should be enrolled in one of our HMOs or the other PPOs, so the 5,000 or the 1,500. Now the limited care FSA, that is meant for the HSA plan participants. And the reason why is they could use their HSA plan for their medical and then enroll in the limited care FSA to only use for dental and vision. So like I said, if you're enrolled in that HSA, you can't use the healthcare FSA, but you can use the limited care FSA. So with FSAs, you can only roll over $500 each year. So this means if you put in $1,000 for the year for your healthcare FSA, and you didn't use it all at the end of the year, then you're going to lose $500, and only $500 will roll over into the next year. I can't stress that enough to you guys, because every year at each location, what happens is people don't end up using it all, and they're very upset with me, and they want me to pull strings and get their money back. And I understand why it's frustrating, but that's why I really try and stress to you guys, look at your expenses that you're usually spending on medical, dental, and vision, and try and get a approximate, accurate amount that you would spend on a yearly basis. That way you don't have leftover money and you don't lose it. Because there's absolutely nothing I can do to get that money back for you once you sign up for the plan. Another thing that kind of happens a lot is people will sign up for, say, dependent care, and they'll sign up to do, $300 a paycheck to go into that. And then something in life changes and they don't need daycare anymore. So they want to change that. I can't do that. Once you sign up and open enrollment, that's there for the full year. So keep all that in mind. If you know your child might be starting a new school next year where it might not be as expensive, so you might not need the same amount. but please make sure you take all those different factors into account before you sign up. So the last bullet, you'll see, what is the benefit? What I get asked all the time is, what's the difference? Why not just get the money now and pay for the expenses as they come up? That way I don't risk losing my money. And it's a great question, and I totally get it. However, the best way I could describe it for you guys is, say your gross amount on your check is $1,000 each paycheck. And then the government comes in and they're going to say, okay, so we get to tax that gross amount, and we're going to tax it 25%. So we're going to take $250 for taxes. So then it leaves you with $750 to pay for things, right? Go into your direct deposit, whatever, pay for your deductions. So what pre-tax dollars means for all these FSAs and HSA, it means that if your check is $1,000 and you decide to put $250 a check into the dependent care each paycheck, that means now you only have a gross pay of $750, and the government is only going to tax you 25% on that $750. So now you're paying less money to the government, and you're basically putting 100% of that money that you would have paid in taxes into a separate account to help pay for expenses that you're already going to have and have to pay for. Now, like I said, that only works like that if you actually end up having those expenses. So that's why you want to really make sure you're going to have those qualified expenses. And so please refer to your benefit booklet in the FSA, HSA section, and it'll give you the different things that are qualified under FSA and HSA as well. So just a little more of a dive into the HSA. It's administered by Snyder. Last year, you guys, for the HSA plan, it was administered by Benefit Wallet. It will now be administered by Snyder. Eligibility is only PPO, HSA, $3,000 deductible participants, like I said before. The eligible expenses are medical, dental, vision expenses, including deductible or co-insurance that's not covered by insurance. Like I said, the company will contribute that $500 for you or $1,000 for a family if you have multiple people on it. The annual plan year max is $2,950 for you and $5,900 for your family. Now, we've already taken out what we would have put in for the individual or family. So this is how much you could put in. If you are 55 and older, you could contribute an additional $1,000 annually as a catch-up contribution. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you are 65 or older, you will not qualify to do an HSA plan. It's due to Medicare and legalities, but if you sign up for it, I will end up having to call you back, unfortunately, and have you pick a different plan. So just keep that in mind. If you're 65 and older, it won't be an option to do the PPO, HSA, or the health savings account. And annual spending rule, same thing. Like I said before, there's no use it or lose it. It's yours forever, not tied to Sonic whatsoever. It's your personal account. You get to take it wherever you go or however long you need it. So the FSA for healthcare, administered by Snyder as well. This is for any full-time employee that is not on the HSA plan, $3,000 deductible. So any of the HMO plans or the PPO 5,000 or 1,500 could participate in the healthcare FSA. Same thing is for medical, dental, vision, not included, not covered by insurance. The plan year limitation is only $2,650, so quite a bit less than what you're able to contribute on an HSA. However, keep in mind, you could only roll over that $500 from year to year. If you have more than that, you're going to lose it. Limited purpose, once again, is only for HSA participants, so PPO 3,000 deductible. And this would be, so you could also put money into a limited FSA account for only dental and vision expenses. Plan limitation is $2,650 as well, and the rollover year to year is $500. Anything else you would lose as well. Dependent care administered through Snyder as well. Like I talked about, it doesn't just have to be young children. It's anyone that's unable to care for themselves that is a dependent under you. So it could be, like I said, an older special needs. It could be an elderly care that's very ill that needs a nursing home, anything like that. The annual plan is a little bit higher, so it's $5,000 per household. So that means even if you have 3 kids that you're paying daycare for, it's only going to be $5,000 for your family. Annual spending rule, the entire amount is use it or lose it. So please, please make sure with the dependent care, you're really looking at how much are you really paying for daycare or nursing, all the different caring programs, how much are you really paying per month? And is there any chance that that amount could change throughout the next 2018? That way you don't put yourself in a position where you do lose money. So life insurance and AD&D, as you guys are all familiar, a full-time benefit of Sonic is we offer free life insurance up to $100,000 for you guys that we pay. So what we also offer is life insurance and AD&D, accidental death and dismemberment, for you guys to purchase additionally. So what that means is basically, say you're going to get $50,000 free with the company, but you want $100,000 total for your children if something happens to you. You have the option to purchase an additional $50,000. You can purchase life insurance and AD&D for spouses and children. Children caps out at $10,000 per child. Spouses caps out at $250,000, and it has to be 50% of what you are purchasing for yourself. So that means if you want to purchase $100,000 for your husband, then you have to be purchasing $200,000 for you. Okay, and that doesn't include the free that Sonic gives you. That has to be what you're purchasing. So we're going to continue to offer the short-term disability options. So we have the option 1, which is a little cheaper for anything after 14 days of being off. It covers 60% of your weekly salary up to $1,500. And then we have option 2, which is after being off 30 days, which is a little bit cheaper than option 1. Okay, so keep in mind, a lot of people ask, will this cover me the full amount even if I'm on state disability? The answer is no. What this is for is to get you up to 60%. So if the state disability is paying you 50% of your salary, your short-term disability is going to pay you that additional 10% to get you to that 60%. So Compass, for those of you who are familiar with it, maybe you guys haven't really paid attention to my emails in the past when it comes to Compass, but Compass is basically a company that we have partnered with to help you guys utilize your benefits to the fullest capability. And I say that because they do so many things for you guys and it's free. So I can't, just really emphasize this enough to utilize this as much as you can. They can help with, if you know you're going to have a procedure done and you want to find a more cost-effective place to have it done and where it's going to cost you less money, they could do the research for you. If you think you got a bill from the hospital and you think that they're maybe charging you way too much, they'll review that bill for you and make sure that you're not being overcharged. And if you are, they'll contact the hospital, get it corrected, and then you'll get a new bill. Say you have to have back surgery and you know nothing about back surgeons. What you could do is call Compass. They'll research your area. They'll come back to you with the highest rated back surgeons in your area, along with who's in your network and so forth, and they'll even book the appointment for you once you decide who you want. Your doctor might be prescribing you a name brand prescription where it ends up being on the $200 list. So maybe you want to call Compass and see if they could do a medication comparison and find you a more generic brand that does the same thing, that maybe you could go back to your doctor and see if they'll prescribe you that instead. So, so there's many things that Compass is there to help you with. And like I said, it's free. It's something that Sonic, we've partnered with them to help you guys. So really utilize them whenever you want help with your benefits or you have questions or anything like that. So what to remember when you are enrolling, make sure you're please researching each plan and picking the best plan for you. You will not have the ability to change, cancel, or add plans until next open enrollment unless you have a qualifying event, obviously. So like you have a baby or anything like that. Secondly, you must choose a beneficiary for your free life insurance. So whether you're purchasing additional life insurance or not, you have to choose a beneficiary for the free life insurance. Otherwise, your enrollment will not go through. And lastly, if you end up choosing, you don't have the option for HMO dental. So sorry, I forgot to fix this slide. But if you end up choosing HMO medical, so one of those trio or those full net plans, whenever you pick it, it's going to require you pick a provider. However, our open enrollment system would not let us edit the wording. So it says enter a provider ID number. Please do not enter a number. Please enter your provider name. So your primary care doctor's name. That's all I need. What will happen is if you don't do that, I'm going to be hunting you down late next week probably, and if I can't get a hold of you, we'll have to do an auto select until you can get it fixed the next month. But so please, 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 if you choose HMO Medical, make sure you put a provider name and not the ID. So after you're done completing open enrollment, I get several emails. I've already gotten a bunch today. Can you please double check and see if my enrollment went through? I'm just nervous. I want to make sure it's done. Once you hit submit, you should get a successful enrollment notice at the top of your screen once you've submitted. As well as a successful enrollment message at the top, the email in your Workday inbox should go away that you clicked on to enroll in your benefits. If that message is still in your Workday inbox, that means your enrollment did not go through. So that is your best way of just knowing if your open enrollment went through or not. Several people already today have kind of come back and said, I submitted it this morning, but now that I thought about it, I changed my mind. You could change it at any point until November 10th, and it's very easy. You go to your Workday homepage, click your benefits tab, and you'll see at the bottom there'll be a link you could click on that says change open enrollment. Once you click that, it will allow you to take you right back to your open enrollment and let you change whatever you'd like to change. Okay. So lastly, questions. If after the meeting, if you think of questions that you forgot to ask on the call right now when I'm about to open it up, please email me. My email's on there. You all know my email. I'm going to be checking my email day and night for you guys for the next 2 weeks. I want to make sure you guys have every opportunity to pick the right plan. Amber Jackson, you'll see at the bottom. Emily Stinnett, that you guys are all familiar with, she's given notice, and her last day is this Friday. So Amber Jackson will be who is replacing her. So you're best off for, contacting myself or Amber if you think of questions or have concerns with open enrollment. So with that said, I will go ahead and open up questions for you guys for anything you might have. So just go ahead and ask away. Anything?
No questions over here for me and Daniela.
Okay.
Shoot an email if we do, but we're solving.
I'm sorry, did you say you have a question?
No, I said we're good at CCPL.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Well, like I said, if you guys think of a question, please email me, call me. However, I'll probably get back faster if you email, and then we will go from there. So have a great evening. Thank you for joining, and I hope you found it useful. And if not, then thank you for joining. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.